in terms of every cost there is in connecting to the grid is ultimately borne by the consumer, either directly or indirectly. And I'll give you a practical example of a situation that's happening actually in my own parish at the moment, where we're building a new peak gas-fired station in Monksland. And on 2 adjoining sites, we are building a very substantial solar farm and a very substantial wind project going ahead as well. Now, all of those are bringing 3 separate grid connections into the local substation, all of them going along the same road into the same trenches. And of course, because we're talking about solar, wind and a peak plant, there will only be power in one of those 3 cables at any one time. So why isn't there joined up thinking in relation to this? And this is a question for ESB Networks as well. Why isn't there joined up thinking in relation to this? Because the customer is paying for 3 electricity connections when one would do in all likelihood in relation to that. And there doesn't seem to be a mechanism to put the brakes onto issues like that. So if you could clarify that for me.
Around multiple connections, this is a complex area. I think there have been examples in the past. I think there's one in Mayo where 2 wind farms were being developed, and it made more sense to look at a combined single connection into the major connection point of the grid. In terms of specific cases, there can be multiple developers on different timing tracks for their own projects, and they all have the right to access the grid. And in the case of multiple types of technologies, they may all be of usefulness at peak periods. Notwithstanding that, we should focus on improving that process and making it more efficient where we have foresight. So we published, I think in the last month and a half, a paper around renewable energy hubs, a pilot which seeks to identify areas of the grid where multiple different renewable projects might be serviced by single or more centralised grid connection to make that more efficient case and to align timings with that. And we've done that with ESB Networks. Separately, I think importantly also, we have recently published or are about to publish our first decision of 3 on hybrid projects, which allows developers, and this could be quite important for isolated and island communities in particular, to put multiple projects behind a single grid connection more easily and to reduce barriers for that. So where a wind farm and or a solar farm and or particularly battery storage would be behind a single constrained connection point, they can still make maximum use of those kilowatt hours because now they can install wind plus solar or wind plus storage. And that can make sure that more of those kilowatt hours are used locally and are decarbonised and are in no way wasted, even with the constrained grid. So it makes more efficient use of the resource at the site, reducing that need for additional grid requirements, which leads again, as you've mentioned, to cost for others.
Thank you. Mr. Finnegan.